In this video, I'm going to show you how to configure PowerIQ rack thresholds and notifications. The benefits of configuring rack thresholds and notifications are that you can increase uptime by avoiding hotspots and avoiding overpower conditions. You'll also be able to avoid surcharges from your colocation provider. When you contracted with your colocation provider, you contracted for a certain power limit. This solution will warn you well before you cross that power limit and are hit with surcharges. The features that we'll touch are the health map, the event browser, email notifications, rack power capacity, global threshold settings, and the ability to override settings for thresholds on special racks. First, we'll enable the rack thresholds, then we'll set the rack power capacity, then we'll set the rack thresholds, and then we'll configure email. Looking at PowerIQ, with my health map, I see an indication of the health of my environment. And I see the cabinet 1B is red, meaning I have a critical alert. When I click on cabinet 1B, I see the load of cabinet 1B, I see the capacity of cabinet 1B, and I see that I have a overpower condition in cabinet 1B, along with the ability to see other alarms. This is a great example of where rack threshold violations are shown on the health map, in events, and in the event browser. Now let's see how we can set these up. First, go to Settings, go to my PowerIQ settings, and I want to enable rack thresholds, and I want to enable email notifications. The rack thresholds come with a default threshold of 80% for critical alerts and a default threshold of 70% for warnings. So now that I've set up to enable my thresholds, enable my notifications, let's continue to set up what we need to do to get the thresholds going. Next, I can go to an individual cabinet, such as rack LAN 1, and via the GUI, I can edit my details, I can enter the cabinet capacity, and I have the ability to override the thresholds if I so choose. This is how you would make your edits through the GUI, one cabinet at a time. But that might be a lot of work, so you probably want to do that via bulk import. Click Settings, go to my Enterprise Relationships. What you want to do is export your relationships, and this will give you an Excel file to show you how your PowerIQ is configured. What you see is you have data center configuration information, you have floor information, you might have room information, you might have aisle information, but what I really care about is my rack information as it relates to rack thresholds. And so I just want to make sure you understand this file. An object called a rack, its external key is its unique computer identifier of this individual rack. The name is the name you see in the PowerIQ GUI, and it's associated with a parent object of data center. This one is associated with a row, this one is associated with a room. Gives you the parent external key, and then gives you certain settings like location, capacity, upper critical threshold override, upper warning override. And so what you could do is capture this format, enter your rack capacities, enter your override thresholds that you want to set, and then re-import that through the bulk import. You would create that file, save it as a CSV, and then re-import it. You would re-import that file in Enterprise Relationships, browse for the file, and then import. So now I've shown you how to enable rack thresholds, set the rack capacity, set the thresholds, adjust it on a cabinet by cabinet basis, and now we just need to complete the setup to get email notifications. If you recall, we enabled email notifications, but we also need to set up our SMTP server settings. So you need to get this configuration information from your system admin of your email system and enter that and save the settings. Then you want to click on your name, ensure that you have a valid email address for your name, and you want to manage your event notifications. This gives you an additional warning to set up your SMTP settings. But now, finally, I'm going to add filters. You can add as many filters as you want. You want to enable it. And each filter allows events to become email notifications. So for example, this filter, I could say I want to get critical alerts from just my rack thresholds. And I want them for all PDUs. Save. I might want to add a second filter and enable it. That gives me warning alerts for my rack thresholds, but only for certain PDUs that meet either a custom field setting or an IP address pattern. And then you would click Save. And this completes the configuration. We enabled rack thresholds, we set the rack capacity, we set rack thresholds, and we set up email notifications.